Chicago country and the site of the Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, along with ESPN analyst Ted Jones. Welcome to Darlington, where history has been written in qualifying and may be yet again. And the reason, Ted, has very little to do with nuts and bolts.
No, as a matter of fact, Bob, it was the weather. Yesterday afternoon here at Darlington International Dragway, a cold front moved across this racetrack, and the temperatures went through the bottom. The end result, a lot of horsepower. If you have a VCR hooked to your television set, turn it on now, because in just a few minutes, you're going to see something absolutely incredible by this car, driven by Harold Denton. Here for a closer look at exactly what happened with those cold temperatures last night is Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, there are drag races, there are important drag races, and there are historic drag races, and we're lucky enough to be at one that's making history. It's hard to describe the action that has already taken place at this event, but suffice to say we're looking at the drag race of the 90s in the IHRA Tour. Take a look at Pro Modified Eliminator, for instance. The number 16 qualifier, dead last in the field, ran 6.99 seconds. It's the first ever all 6-second field, and 2 alternates ran under 7 flat and didn't make the cut. There were a total of 20 cars over 200 miles per hour, a world record in its own right. But as awesome as Pro Modified was, Pro Stock is where the real enthusiasm was. Take a look at this. The world record coming into this event was 7.08 seconds. That run was good only for the number 12 spot in this 16-car field. The bump spot was 7:20, but that's deceiving because number 15 was a 7:16 and number 14 was a 7:10. In Top Fuel Eliminator, a near track record by 89 world champ Pat Dakin, 5:18 at 276 miles per hour. As far as what the weather front that you spoke of has done to competition, it appears that even on race day, it's going to be unbelievably quick. And Bob Varsha, when we get into the Night of Fire coverage, we're going to see some history.
All right, thank you, Brett. Let's get to it right now. Our Night of Fire final qualifying Saturday night, under the twilight and under the lights. The most outstanding Chevrolet Night of Fire we've seen on tour this year. In Pro Modified, Canadian Al Billis in the far lane. In the near lane, the wild Lamborghini Countach of Randy Moore. A great side-by-side drag race. Moore blows the engine at half-track, but runs right into the record book.
Randy Moore set a new record with 6.74 and blew the engine at the 8th mile mark. Absolutely incredible.
Look at Randy Moore bring that wild ride to a stop. And then, in Pro Stock, the moment that will go down in drag racing history. Ed Dixon in the far lane, in the near lane, the party time Pontiac of Harold Denton. And by the glow of the dashboard lights, history was made. Denton, already the fastest Pro Stock in history. Look at this side-by-side drag race. It is the quickest ever seen.
Harold Denton, there it is, 6.98. Incredible. A Pro Stocker going in the 6s. It's never been done anywhere in the world of drag racing, Bob.
Hard to imagine. From gasoline and a pair of 4-barrel carburetors and a whole lot of cubic inches, Pro Stock is now in the 6s. And in Top Fuel, in the far lane, former Rookie of the Year Wayne Bailey going up against Pat Dakin in the run for the Top Fuel Championship. Bailey carries the front wheels about 6 feet in the air off the line. Had to get out of it. Dakin blazes to a 5:18.
Well, fortunately, Wayne Bailey shut it off. Look at the front-end climb on that Top Fuel car. He was headed for a backflip, Bob, if he hadn't shut it down.
6 feet, make that 12 feet he carried the wheels, but the wheelie bars and getting out of the throttle kept Wayne Bailey in one piece. Of course, the finale of every Chevrolet Night of Fire are the jet cars. Lou Saddlemeyer provided both of these machines. Take a look and listen to the sound of some 12,000 pounds of thrust at work. What would a Night of Fire be like without a fireworks show? And in case you're wondering, yes, Lou Saddlemeyer's jet cars blew the windows out of the timing tower. Fortunes of War on the IHRA Trail. Our ESPN coverage of the Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals is brought to you by Quaker State. The Big Q is one tough motor oil. And there is Harold Harold Denton on the right, Darwin Dahl, president of the IHRA in the middle, and on the left, engine builder Sonny Leonard, whose machine has broken through 7 seconds. We'll be back with Pro Stock quarterfinals. We are a Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals. And before we get to competition in Pro Stock, let's spend a moment with Brett Kepner and the sport's quickest driver.
Do you think that it was the atmospheric conditions alone, or the new engine alone, or the new car alone that made the 6-second run possible?
The combination's what fell together. I think we've had enough horsepower to do it at several of the races recently, and the old car probably would have done it as quick. Either case, in my opinion now, there's 5 or 6 cars here that could do it even with the conditions we'd have during the day. We feel that the clutch combination is the very most important thing, and regardless of the clutch combination, they all have to match that car and the motor. The guy driving sometimes a little different, and whatever combination he's found for himself is what he needs to stay with.
Boy, wouldn't that be something if we had a bunch of cars breaking into the 6s. Here's a man who could do it, Billy Ewing out of Snellville, Georgia, who set down Tim Neighbors in the first round. His opponent, Jim Yates out of Alexandria, Virginia, a 91 Old Cutlass against a 91 Ford T-Bird. There's a close look at Jim Yates. Yates set down Carlton Phillips in the first round. 725 inches of Ford power against 750 cubic inches of Olds mountain motor.
Actually, Yates driving in a borrowed car. This car normally driven by Ed Dixon.
They are side by side at half track after a great start, and it is Yates at the finish, but only just.
Jim Yates with a 718, 193 miles per hour. They're flying here today. That cold air is taking its effect, Bob.
Yates ran a 721 in the first round, comes through with a 718 here, and that's how close it was. Our next matchup will be Doug Kirk, second in the points and looking to move up today, up against Terry Adams. There is a look at Adams. Kirk can move up today as you take a close look at Terry out of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, driving a Pontiac Trans Am. Number 1 in points, Ricky Smith, has already been beaten by Floyd Cheek in the first round, so Kirk really needs a victory here against Adams.
Young Doug Kirk only lost the World Championship by 25 points last year, so this is a critical run.
Another great side-by-side drag race. It is Kirk at 719, 195 miles an hour. And here is Floyd Cheek in our third matchup. Cheek, the man who set down Ricky Smith in the first round. His opponent, Billy Huff. There's a look at Billy from Shepherdsville, Kentucky, in his 1990 Chevrolet Beretta with a Pontiac mountain motor. Floyd Cheek to the left of your screen. Watch Cheek. Huff carries the front wheels right off that concrete launch pad. Has the advantage of half track. Can Cheek come back?
Huff, incredible 7.06, 196 miles per hour. It looks like we could have another guy get close to the 6s, Bob.
Indeed, we might. Here's the man who predicted they could, Harold Denton, in what is now the quickest and fastest Pro Stock ever. Well, let me step back on that. Harold Denton has yet to back up that run. His opponent here in the quarterfinals will be John Noble out of Melville, New York on Long Island. He's driving a Pontiac chassis and engine combination.
Can you imagine what's going through the New Yorker's mind right now? How would you like to be staging your car against the guy that just broke into the 6s last night?
Now, keep in mind that Harold Denton is going to need to run 7.058 seconds or better in order to back up his record. Looks like he got left a little bit at the start line, but Noble gets off the line, out to that outer boundary, and he will shut it off. Denton will advance, but not quick enough.
Harold Denton, a 707. He needs a 705 to make it official.
And so it will be Jim Yates against Harold Denton in the semifinals of Pro Stock, while Billy Huff takes on Doug Kirk in the running for the overall World Championship. We'll be back in just a moment to switch from gasoline to alcohol motivation at Darlington. Welcome back to Darlington, South Carolina, the Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals. Bob Barcia, Ted Jones, and Brett Kepner with you as we welcome quarterfinal action in Alcohol Funny Car. The world champion from Louisville, Ohio, Mark Thomas. His opponent, Joe Camella from Parma, Ohio, in a Ford Probe.
Well, Camella has to be the underdog in this matchup. Camella could only muster a 641 in the first round. Mark Thomas, the world champ, turned an impressive 611. He was flying.
Thomas, the #1 qualifier in the class. Camella, number 8. Thomas launches, has the lead at half-track, and extends it to the finish.
Look at the ET, another 6:11. He should be bracket racing, Bob, 228 miles per hour.
The cool air just keeps turning out times. Our next matchup will be Robert Fortier from East Falmouth, Maine, up in the Cape Cod area. His opponent will be Scott Weiss out of Richmond, Virginia in Wise Guy.
Well, Scott Wise's father, Dan Wise, owns the Richmond Dragway, so he has a built-in test track. But you talk about a close race. These guys qualified number 4 and number 5, and they both ran a 6:18 in the first round.
Scott Weiss had lane choice by 5/1000ths of a second. Look at him side by side to the end, and I think Weiss takes it.
Scott Weiss pulls it out with a 6:25. He slowed up just a little bit, 218 miles per hour.
Here's a look at it on our ESPN half-track shutter cam. Weiss had the lead and kept it to the end, but only just. Here's a look at the 81 Alcohol Funny Car World Champion, Carol Bunny Burkett out of Sterling, Virginia. Bunny is back, and you best not take her for granted, boys. Her opponent, Jerry Rhodes out of Southside, Alabama. Burkett qualified number 2 in the field to Mark Thomas, the world champion. Jerry Rhodes, number 7.
Burkett drove a 6:23 in defeating Steve Fox in the first round.
Bunny actually one of 2 women who qualified for this 16-car field. Melinda Green was the other, eliminated in the first round. Burkett has the advantage of half-track, and she will take it.
Bunny, very impressive. A 6:15, 228 miles per hour. Look out, Mark Thomas.
Our last matchup will be Rick Bowie out of Greenwood, South Carolina, up against Doug Hearsum from Lisle, Ontario. There is Doug, very much in the running for the World Championship. He is presently 3rd behind Mark Thomas and Larry Dobbs. Dobbs is out of the competition at this point. Mark Thomas very much alive. There's Ricky Bowie, 1991 Trans Am bodywork.
Ricky Bowie dedicated that car to the late, great Alan Starr, former Top Fuel driver.
Good launch. Actually looked like Hearsum was rolling at the light. Bowie gets him at half-track. Here comes Hearsum, but Bowie will advance, and that is an upset.
Ricky Bowie, 6:29. Look at the speed, 220 miles per hour.
Here is the closing rush as Bowie held off the number 3 man in points, and that really opens the door for Mark Thomas. Thomas will have lane choice against Scott Weiss in the next round, while Bunny Burkett, by virtue of the quicker ET, will have lane choice in her matchup with Ricky Bowie. When we come back, the Pro Modified stars will take to the track, and we'll go on board with Canadian Al Billis. Welcome back to the IHRA Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals at Darlington International Dragway. Now, before we move on to quarterfinal action in Pro Modified, take a look at what happened to Randy Moore. We've already seen Randy blow the engine in taking the number 1 qualifying spot. During his competition run against Norm Wisner, he darn near put it into the cheap seat.
What a terrible shame for Randy Moore, who had everybody wondering if this could be the event. But he's been doing this all season long. He has some tremendous handling difficulties with that Lamborghini. Watch the inexperience now of the young driver. The minute you touch that out-of-bounds marker, you should shut the car down instantly. He was just a little late in doing that, but no harm.
And so Norm Wisner advanced, and he will be a part of our first matchup in the quarterfinal round in Pro Modified. Here's a look at Norm out of Lilburn, Georgia, with a nostalgia car, 1955 Vicky, with 698 cubic inches under the hood. His opponent, Chris Hunt from Killen, Alabama.
Don't sell Wisner short now. Remember, when he ran against Moore, he turned a 699 at 199 miles per hour. He could bump Hunt off. Hunt only ran a 702 in the first round in defeating Wayne Torkelson's Thunderbird.
Pro Modified crews vary. Oh, we got a red light. Red light for Norm Wisner, and Chris Hunt will advance.
What a shame Wisner was on a roll. Chris Hunt to a 692, 202 miles per hour.
Now here comes the car that used to be known as the Black Mariah, the Corvette of Freddie Hahn out of West Seneca, New York. Hahn's opponent, Tim McAmis, the reigning Pro Modified world champion. McAmis from Moscow Mills, Missouri, where he spends his time building race cars.
Hahn qualified number 6. Then in the first round, he ran a 690. He's right on the edge of those 680.
The blown Corvette in the left lane. The nitrous-powered Trans Am in the right lane. It looks like Hahn will get there first, and he does.
Hahn pulls it out by about a half of a car length with a 695, 198 miles per hour.
Here's another look on our ESPN half-track camera. Freddie Hahn had him by a half a car length. And our ESPN photo finish camera shows that he extended that to 1 full body length. Now here comes Ed Hoover out of Columbia, South Carolina. 1989 Camaro with a 632 cubic inch nitrous-assisted engine. And there is Pat Moore from Kinsman, Ohio, driving for Cleveland Cavaliers NBA basketball standout Larry Nance.
Hoover with a brand new sponsor this year, the No Fear Gear, clever name car. Being motioned by his crew chief into the lights ever so carefully, there is Larry Nance. He'll be turning the computer on as soon as that car stages. You'll see him turn the computer on and back away.
Pat Moore, probably the only driver in the sport who makes less money than his crew chief. Both cars are set. Take that back. Hoover last the stage. Off they go. Both cars carrying the wheels. Pat Moore begins to dawdle a little bit, and it will be Ed Hoover advancing.
Ed Hoover is on a rip. Look at the elapsed time on this. 6:86, 202 miles per hour.
Now we step aboard with a record holder in Pro Mod, Al Billis, working the gear shift levers, the line brake. Here is his opponent, points leader in Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon. Before they run, let's get down to the big end and Brett.
Nobody knows this racetrack like you. I swear, 686. You have to feel for Pat Moore. He goes on 97, and you train length him.
I tell you, track's good. I like this track close to my home, so I don't have to worry about the long drive home, so I got a good mind about it, and everything's working real good, too.
You got an awful lot of fans up there, too, I might add.
Yeah, I got my Columbia fans with me.
Incredible job. How much quicker can this thing go if the air cools off a little?
We didn't turn it up that run because we really felt we didn't have to, even though Pat's real tough, but we'll turn it up for the next run.
Well, an 86 is stout, but in this field, it's not that stout.
Now, I know it. Anything can happen.
Indeed it can. Here comes Al Billis out of Canada, number 2 in points with a couple of race victories to his credit this year. With a 632 cubic inch nitrous-assisted engine, there is the wild 1940 Chevrolet body style of the points leader, Scotty Cannon.
And here we go for a ride. You're with Al Billis inside. He has his hand on the first gear lever of the planetary transmission, concentrating on the tree. Now watch when he leaves. He'll go to second gear. Now he'll grab third and then fourth and leg it out. Watch him go up for the parachute levers, release the parachutes. They blossom open, and he has a victory.
A great run, 691 at 188 miles an hour. On a day like this, that wouldn't cut it here at Darlington. But Al Billis comes out the winner, and here's why. In the left lane, Scotty Cannon, red light. Let's get down to the big end now and meet Al Billis.
Well, obviously, something happened down there. Did you know that Scotty Cannon red lighted?
No, I saw him pulling in deep stage. I didn't know what happened. I saw my purge solenoids. Actually, I was staging the car, and I purged it, and the solenoid stuck open. So I was purging off nitrous oxide, and I kind of thought, you know, I didn't know if Scotty, he might have seen that. But then I pulled in stage, and he deep staged, and saw going down track. I saw he was out in front of me, but I saw some smoke out of his car, so I don't know whether he ran it through or not.
Well, the number was still incredible, 691 at only 188.
Yeah, I clicked it off really. Nosed over, and I thought, uh-oh. So I think that was just out of nitrous, I hope.
Unbelievable.
Thanks a lot.
Well, sometimes it helps to be lucky rather than good. Chris Hunt will give up lane choice to Al Billis in the semifinals, while Ed Hoover will take lane choice in his meeting with Freddie Hahn. When we return, we'll go for another ride. Who needs gauges? We're going top fuel racing. Stay with us. Welcome back to a beautiful day at Darlington International Dragway, where it's time for the slingshots of top fuel. Our first matchup will pit Butch Blair out of Martinez, California, going up against John Carey in his first serious run since a bad electrical accident in his shop back in June. Here's a look at John Diesel Carey out of Dover, Delaware. And there is Butch Blair with his top fuel slingshot, 300 inches long, 496 JP1 engine, creating nearly 4,500 horsepower. And the trick here at Darlington, on a track that was laid down just a year ago, is getting it to the ground. Red light right off the line. John Carey's done. Butch Blair will smoke the tires and shut it off early.
Butch Blair to a 573, 200 miles per hour. John Carey dropped some parts on the track. We're looking at them right now. So in addition to red lighting, he broke the car. He lost twice.
Interesting front end there on Butch Blair's car. You can see he carried the wheels, but to the left of your screen, Big engine explosion on the left side for John Carey. He sheds parts all the way down to the 60-foot line. Our next matchup will be Wayne Bailey out of Lake Orion, Michigan. And he will have his hands full. He will go up against the two-time world champion and the man in the driver's seat for the 1991 title from Fort Worth, Texas, Gene the Snowman Snow. Snow with Michael Brotherton, last year's Top Fuel world champion, as his crew chief, up against Wayne Bailey, who had that wild wheel stand in the Chevrolet Night of Fire.
Taking a close look now into the eyes of Gene Snow as he snaps the visor down and begins to pre-stage that monster Top Fuel dragster.
You can see the ripples in the slicks. Very low air pressure in order to get maximum traction and temperature in those tires. Bailey is staged, Snow is staged, clean start. Bailey smokes the tires, Snow does too, gets a little sideways, but they both keep their foot in it.
What a driving job, 523, 263 miles per hour. Snow could have shut off watching when he comes off the pad now. Bailey first breaks into smoke, then Snow breaks into smoke, feathers it just a little bit, reaches out, grabs the handbrake to try and drive right out of it, and it worked.
Once again, Darlington proves to be a tricky piece of asphalt. 523, though, and you were both all over the place.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we had something broken and oil or something under the tire, but it stayed straight enough to drive it, and that right lane is still a good lane.
So you'll probably try and stick there.
Yeah, I like to stay where it's been good to me. We're going to keep trying.
You know, every year when you do so well here, it seems like it takes you all the way to the final to figure this place out.
It's a little tricky, but it's getting better every year. I tell you, this crew that I got is doing a hell of a job. This Mopar car just keeps kicking.
So we'll see you in the semis.
Thank you.
Here comes Pontiac Jack Ostrander from Pontiac, Michigan. His opponent in the third matchup of the quarterfinals will be Kenny Koretsky from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. There is young Kenny, who started his professional career in pro stock before making the jump up to Top Fuel.
Kenny actually dropped out for just a little bit when he lost his sponsorship, but now he's back at it.
There is Jack Ostrander.
Jack self-sponsors. He owns a bowling alley and calls it the 300 Bowl.
Both cars with a clean start. Nice driving job. Very little smoke. A little from Ostrander now, but it looks like Koretsky will win it.
I don't believe so. Jack Ostrander looks like is there first with a 5:48. That was really close, Bob. Let's look one more time. You can't hardly tell, but Ostrander pulls it out.
Oh, my. Here's our ESPN half-track camera. Virtually indistinguishable. At the end, I picked Kenny, but look how much Pontiac Jack beat him by. That is a drag race. But things aren't going all Jack's way. Looks like his crew van stalled coming down to pick him up. With a hop onto the bleach box comes Doug Herbert out of Lincolnton, North Carolina. His opponent will be Pat Dakin, carrying an onboard camera. Dakin desperately trying to keep pace with the Snowman for the World Championship.
Dakin's rolling into the water now, through the water, and hits it. You're doing a burnout with Pat Dakin right now.
Spinning those slicks to get them up to a couple hundred degrees operating temperature. There's a look at the former IHRA World Champion. He backs it up to the staging area.
You notice you can see Doug Herbert is out in front of him, also backing up. You saw his crew chief come out in front and motioning back into those hot, sticky tracks of rubber that he just lied down when he did the burnout.
There's a look into the eyes of Pat Dakin, who knows he must win this round. He creeps forward to stage. Here's a ride at 250 miles an hour or so. Oh, and Dakin has to shut it down.
And you can see Doug Herbert go past him. That's just what the driver sees. Herbert wins with a 5:55, 253 miles per hour. We're slowing the car down now. The chutes are out. We're deaccelerating with Pat Dakin.
Now let's take a look from the outside at what happened to Dakin. Good launch for Herbert. You can see Dakin hazes the hides right off the line.
Well, Doug, obviously that's a thrill. #1 qualifier down the tubes in the first round. Dakin just can't stop boiling the tires, it seems.
Well, it's too bad for him, but fortunately for me, we got past him, so now maybe the next round we'll get somebody maybe a little bit easier.
You'll be up against Butch Blair, in fact.
Yeah, if we stay consistent, then who knows, maybe we can win this.
That's true. At this particular point, you guys have really stepped this thing up towards the last half of the season, and this car has as much power as anybody now.
Well, I think so. I got my new crew with Mike Green, Jeff Schiffsky, and Bob Wymore, which are former Ormsby guys, and they're pretty sharp. So I think we'll get this thing running pretty good here at the end of the year.
Good luck, guys.
And that run puts a big dent in Pat Dakin's championship hopes. It'll be Doug Herbert up against Butch Blair in the semifinals. Jack Ostrander will take on Gene Snow. Now it's time for another ESPN Track Fact. Here's Brett Kepner.
Virtually every single drag racing team has to consider themselves amateur meteorologists as well as racers, and that's born out of necessity. Every single aspect of the way the race car performs has something to do with the current weather statistics. That's why we have Bob Varsha on our ESPN IHRA coverage as our official weatherman. The Ricky Smith STP Pro Stock team probably uses more weather instruments than any other racing team, and they use it to figure out the current corrected altitude at any particular time that they run. Here's how it works. The first thing Ricky Smith does is check the current temperature, then the barometric pressure, then the humidity. He also uses an altimeter right out of an airplane, an air density gauge, and both a wet bulb and dry bulb thermometer system. Now, before each run, Ricky will figure out what the temperature is, what the barometer reads, what the humidity is supposed to be on a humidity gauge, then combine the figures off the wet and dry bulb thermometers to come up with a true humidity percentage. Then he figures out what the altitude really is, considering the oxygen in the air here at Darlington International Dragway. Now, theoretically, if you look on any topographical map, Darlington International Raceway is situated about 40 feet above sea level. But with the air temperature, the humidity, and the density combined, what is the real altitude, or what does the race car think it is? Well, he uses an air density computer to figure that out, and it's simple. You just add in the numbers and come up with a figure. In this case, it figures out to about 1,000 feet above sea level. Now, this racetrack sits 40 feet above, but the air right now, as far as the oxygen content, feels to the carburetors on the race car at about 1,000 feet. And therefore, Ricky Smith can tune the car accordingly as far as carburation jets, the clutch, and the amount of horsepower he wants to put to the racetrack.
Thanks, Brett. I get my weather reports off the radio. When we return to Darlington International Raceway, we'll have semifinals in Pro Stock. Stay with us. Pro Stock. As Jim Yates out of Alexandria, Virginia, brings his T-Bird to the starting line to face Harold Denton. Ran 7:06.3 in the first round, 7:07.8 in the second round. Still looking for that time to back up his incredible 6.989 in qualifying.
Well, the time we'll watch for is exactly a 7.05 with an 8.
Harold Denton comes into this meet in 4th place in points. He also wants to move up in that World Championship. Good launch for both cars. Yates has Denton at half track.
Look at the meaning of 197 miles per hour. He went around him like he wasn't even moving. Denton a 7:08 to Yates losing 7:19. But watch the top end charge in high gear by Harold Denton. Look at that car go past him.
Now here comes Billy Huff. The number 2 qualifier has already knocked off number 1 man in points, Ricky Smith. Now he gets a shot at number 2, Doug Kirk, who qualified 6th.
Young Billy Huff has the entire pit area humming and buzzing. He's the son of Cheryl Huff that owns Ohio Valley Raceway just south of Louisville, Kentucky. And another second-generation racer, Doug Kirk. His father is Carl Kirk.
Billy Huff has already run a 7.067 seconds. Doug Kirk hasn't gotten close to that today. He'd better hope he gets the launch on young Billy Huff.
Huff like a cat off the starting line. Very quick reflexes.
You saw the onboard computer being activated. Similar-looking cars come to the line. Kirk the second to stage. Good launch. A little smoke from Kirk's cars. He gets a little sideways. They're even at half track. Now Billy Huff has a problem and has to back out of it.
What a break for Doug Kirk. He runs a 7:21. That's actually slower than he's been going. In the first round, he went 7:11. The next time, he went 7:19. This round, he goes 7:21. The car's slowing down.
You saw how close they were at half track, but then to the left of your screen, Billy Huff got a little bit sideways. Doug Kirk will go on to the finals. Let's meet him now at the big end.
I'm just feeling around to see if this car still has another O in it, because you're going to need it against Harold.
Well, yeah, I think it does.
We'll see.
We can just get enough clutch out of it and make it go. That's what it's all about.
It's an interesting final round. You've done extremely well at this track this year. It had a lot to do with the success that put you this high up in the points. But you got to look at Harold Denton. I mean, this could be his weekend.
Harold Denton, I'll tell you what, he's done great. I mean, he's really come a long way, and as long as he's been doing it, he's tough.
It's going to be a good final between 2 great competitors. I'm serious. We'll see you.
You never underestimate Harold Denton.
And Harold Denton will have lane choice over Doug Kirk in the final by virtue of the quicker ET. He's been in the 7.0s all afternoon. Doug Kirk's really going to have to step up. We move now to alcohol funny car semifinals. There is Mark Thomas, the reigning world champion. He will be going up against the wise guy, Scott Weiss.
Scott Weiss ran a 6:18 in the first round of competition. So although he's not a heavy hitter, he could bump off Mark Thomas, the defending world champion.
And Thomas can ill afford to lose right now. He's in a pretty close battle with Larry Dobbs for the world championship in 1991. Dobbs is out of the competition. Thomas has to advance. Good start for both cars. Weiss a little bit sideways. He has to pedal it, and he's not going to win.
Weiss never in, and Mark Thomas wire-to-wire 6.12, 228 miles per hour.
Now here comes Bunny Burkett, a former world champion of this class. We haven't had too many opportunities to call Bunny's number yet this year, but she has been having a splendid afternoon of eliminations. Her opponent, Ricky Bowie, the number 3 qualifier. This should be a good race.
Bunny Burkett actually won the world championship back in 1986, the first lady to ever win an IHRA world championship.
Bunny, the number 2 qualifier, up against number 3, Ricky Bowie.
Now, you may remember Ricky Bowie, Bob. Back about 3 years ago, he used to drive a nitro funny car and had it on its roof right here at this track at Darlington.
Burkett in the near lane, Bowie in the far lane. Each of them hoping to advance to the final against the world champion, Mark Thomas. Long stage for both cars. Good start, though. Looks like Bowie had the advantage. He's off the launch pad first, but he gets a little bit wide right out by that line, and Bunny wins.
Bunny's on a roll. 6.18, 226 miles per hour.
And so Bunny Burkett will advance to the finals to meet Mark Thomas. Here's a look from our ESPN half-track camera. Look how close it was as Bunny began her charge. Weiss having to back out with some handling problems. So it will be Mark Thomas against Bunny Burkett. Thomas will have lane choice when we go to the final of alcohol funny cars. We'll take a quick timeout, and when we return, semifinal action in Top Fuel. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals. One of the interesting aspects of any professional drag race is the between-rounds thrashing here in Bunny Burkett's pit. The crew works over that engine, tearing it down and rebuilding it, essentially, getting it ready for the final round. Meanwhile, not far away in Mark Thomas's pit, the same thing is going on, checking the rocker arms, the cams, crankshaft, pistons, cylinder liners, all of the various parts that make an engine work. Mark Thomas to the right of the engine there, performing some of his own handiwork. We are ready for semifinal action in Top Fuel. Our first matchup will be Butch Blair out of Martinez, California, who beat John Carey in the quarterfinals. His opponent from Lincolnton, North Carolina, Doug Herbert, who knocks off Pat Dakin, the top qualifier.
As we look down into Butch Blair's Top Fuel dragster, you'll notice the rear view mirrors. That was an idea that Don Garlitz actually came up with for watching that engine in a rear engine dragster.
You also got to look at Doug Herbert. As the heart rate comes up, the concentration is total as they look at that Christmas tree, the lights coming down. You have 4/100ths of a second to get into the throttle. Looks like Butch Blair got it, but he smokes the tires. He'll have to get out of it, and Doug Herbert will move on to the final.
It looked like a flash of fire right there. I think Butch Blair actually hurt the engine. It may have been a blower explosion. Let's watch on the replay and look and see if we can see anything that looks like he's lifting a blower.
Well, you see the tire smoking. Yeah, you caught it, Ted. He did blow it.
Well, obviously the traction problems have not been solved by anybody out there yet. But, Doug, you're in a final round with this crew, and that's a statement in itself. Butch Blair had a pretty hefty blower explosion in the other lane, but a 555.
Well, that's good. We're staying fairly consistent, and it seems like got a little bit hotter and stuff. So, you know, at least we got down the track. I guess that's the main thing here right now is getting down the track.
It's a very difficult track to get down, and the more sunlight it gets, the more tricky it gets. And it seems like only Gene Snow's ever figured it out. You've got to step it up, though. You know that.
Yeah, we got to step it up. We'll go back and try and figure it out because Snow's pretty tough, and he's been around for a while, so he's a tough guy to beat.
We'll check you in the pits. Good luck, guys.
Hey, thanks.
All right, so much for the half of the ladder representing youth and exuberance. Here comes the half representing age and experience. Jack Ostrander and this man, Gene Snow. Some 50 years of drag racing experience between these two guys, maybe 60 years of it. 2 world championships for Gene Snow.
Snow has won 16 IHRA national events. Is that experience or what, Bob?
He has lane choice. He has chosen the right lane, as he told Brett Kepner he would. There is Pontiac Jack Ostrander strapped into his cockpit.
Now remember, in these top fuel cars, both of these gentlemen are going to feel about 4 G's of force when they punch it right off the starting line.
You can see the fumes coming out of those headers. That is raw fuel. Tremendous tire smoke off Gene Snow's tires, but he'll hold it to the finish.
He drove it out again. He's been doing it all afternoon long. Gene Snow with a 532, 254 miles per hour. The car actually slowed just a little bit. Let's watch it now. Look at Snow when he comes off of that concrete pad. Look at the smoke roll.
You were talking about the same thing we were with Jack. His tires look fine. He didn't smoke. You're the one that boiled the tires and then obviously had more problems down here.
I probably did. I can't tell anything. I know there's some oil and stuff coming out of some of the pipes, but when it smokes the tires like that, it probably broke a push rod or something like that.
Yeah, it pumped a lot of oil. You could see the classic white clouds, and then that oil lit. It was on fire through most of the shutdown.
Is that right? God, I like to watch that. I hope you got some good pictures of it. No, I don't like it when it does that. It means we got to do a lot of work. I'm going to be a little bit late, but it's fun to win here, just like usual.
The good news is you got through all that carnage lane choice in the final over Herbert.
Is that right?
Yeah, went in the 530s, and Herbert only ran a 55.
Okay, that's real good. I think we'll stay with that lane even though we get loose in it.
I know you got a lot of work to do. We'll let you go.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Gene Snow, here it is, just for you. Look at the white smoke indicating something wrong. Puffing oil, and you can see the fire. That's actually the oil burning.
Problems on that left side will send Brett Kepner down to see if he can find out just how bad the damage is. And he said it, Gene Snow, by virtue of the quicker ET, will have lane choice in his meeting with Doug Herbert in our Top Fuel final. Now you're in the pits of Doug Kirk as they prepare his Pro Stock machine for a final round meeting with Harold Denton, officially the fastest Pro Stocker in the sport, hoping to become the quickest. Now let's go to Brett, covering the tension in the pits.
It's the final round of an IHRA Championship National event. The car is ready. It's a few minutes from the championship dash itself, and you have a chance to set a new world record. What do you do in those 10 seconds before a race is at hand? You go out and grab yourself an ice cream.
That's right, Brett. Harold Denton's another old hand. He's been doing this for some 30 years. Heck, it's just another final round. Of course, this one has a little icing involved. This one could mean a world record. We'll be back to Darlington International Dragway with more from the IHRA Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals. Welcome back to Darlington International Dragway, where the between rounds action continues in the pits. Let's get down to Brett Kepner checking up on Gene Snow.
Well, gentlemen, here in Gene Snow's pit area, obviously there is a thrash going on. Crew chief and defending IHRA Top Fuel World Champion Michael Brotherton leading the parade back here, getting everything cleaned up to get ready to insert 8 new pistons and 2 new cylinder heads. And here's the reason. On the last run, an exhaust valve dropped into the cylinder. That's where all the smoke came from. And as you can see, it did tremendous damage to the inside of the cylinder head. This is not something that can be fixed. They will obviously go to 2 brand new cylinder heads, put them on basically a brand new motor, and hope for the best in the final round.
Well, that's not the only place we have pit action. There is Doug Herbert, Gene Snow's opponent in the Top Fuel Finals, as he and his crew lift the new blower on top of the manifold.
Blower, injectors, bug catcher, and everything is being replaced. You know, Top Fuel probably has the highest attrition rate of any motorsport.
And there is a future drag racer spending his time learning the ropes on 3 wheels. And there's his hero, Doug Herbert. There's always a little time for some frivolity in the pits. Let's get back to the track now, where we are ready for the final in Pro Modified. Canadian Al Billis carrying our onboard camera up against Ed Hoover.
Al Billis would like to run a very low 6 in this round for a specific reason. The last race that he won, he ran nothing but 6s.
There is Ed Hoover, who would very much like to move up in points. He is 4th coming in. Billis is 2nd, and he is in a toe-to-toe death match with Scotty Cannon for the championship. Cannon is out, Billis is in, and he is at work in his cockpit. Let's take a ride.
Billis staging very carefully. Up go the RPMs. Off the line he comes, and he starts going through the gears of that Linco transmission. You'll see the shift light telling him exactly when to go to the next gear.
Reaches up, no vaporization out the front window. The solenoid fixed. He is not jetting any of that nitrous oxide, and he comes through with a victory, his 2nd of the year.
Let's take a look, especially at the ET, a 677. That's a new world record for Al Billis.
It's hard to believe that Ed Hoover could go 683 and still lose by 600ths. 677, another record. 203 miles per hour. First man ever to carry 3 cameras inboard, and it sure didn't hurt you.
No. Hey, I don't know what to say. You know, it's really nice. You know, come down here, Scotty and myself. He's got a fair lead in the championship points, but this will move it closer. I'm sure he's down there in the stands watching now, and he's probably not very happy. But
how close? How close can it be at Bristol now?
I don't know. I haven't really figured it out. I'm a little superstitious that way. Let the other guys worry about it.
All right, everybody's going to want to carry our onboard cameras after what Al Billis has done. Now to the alcohol funny car final. There is Mark Thomas with his ethanol-sponsored machine. Ironically enough, he'll be going up against the former world champion right there, Bunny Burkett, with an associate sponsorship from ethanol.
I'll bet the Ohio Corn Growers Association is elated to see this. 2 ethanol cars in the final, 2 world champions in the final.
Ethanol, the distinctive form of alcohol blend that both Burkett and Thomas use in their cars. Shadows growing long here at Darlington. Good launch for both cars. Bunny gets a little bit sideways out by the line, and then Mark Thomas has to shut it off. What an upset!
Bunny Burkett pulls it out with a 6:41, her slowest run of the day, but she doesn't care. The crew doesn't care because she's won the championship, 221 miles per hour.
The Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Alcohol Funny Car champion is Bunny Burkett. Welcome back, Bunny. Now on to our final in Pro Stock. There is Harold Denton, still looking for not only the race victory, but he wants that world record to back up that 6.989 second run he set in qualifying. This is his last chance as he goes in against Doug Kirk.
Remember, the number to beat is 7.058. Watch the bottom of your screen for the ET.
A lot of tire smoke off both cars. Now Denton smoking out the rear as they make it to the finish. Denton!
There it is. You have a new 6-second world record, 7.048. That makes it official. Harold Denton holds the IHRA world record in the 6s.
And what a great series of 4 runs under 7:08.
I tried. Man, you did a job. All I knew was, all I could see was you were out. I said, I'm going to have to open it up.
By a 10th, he was out.
All right. That's good.
He was out on you by a 10th. You drove around, and you needed every bit of the power you had, and every bit of the power that you had gave you the backup, 7:04.
All right. Thank the Lord for that one, too. We needed it.
It gives you the first ever 6-second record, not just the first run, but you backed it up.
That Sonny Leonard motor quit smoking. Believe it or not, we were coming in. We had the oil filter loose the last round there. We had a couple of things going on, and believe it or not, after, you caught me up there eating ice cream like I wasn't worried. I just felt it was my weekend. You do it all, and here it is.
We will move on now to the final in Top Fuel, but let's reiterate what Harold Denton has done. 4 runs under, make that 5 runs, including qualifying, under the old Pro Stock world record. There is Doug Herbert, his opponent in the final, Gene Snow, and this is another drama. Snow hoping to lock up his 3rd IHRA World Championship in Top Fuel. He wants the victory here. Backing up over those tracks laid down. Doug Herbert going for maximum traction, putting rubber on rubber. Slicks on the screens of rubber laid down during his burnout.
This is Gene Snow's 18th final round appearance. Doug Herbert has never been in an IHRA final round. Talk about sweaty palms, Bob.
No time for sweaty palms. A 5-second blast for the championship in Top Fuel. Herbert outpaced at the starting line. Snowman all the way.
Gene Snow does it and sets a new track record in the process. 5.16, 268 miles per hour. Let's look one more time at it.
The fuel burning out of the headers creates those 6- and 7-foot flames. Pieces of the engine coming out of the right side cylinder bank on Snow's car. They got down to the end, but it was Herbert that hurt the engine.
16. I mean, you had run an incredible number here last fall, but nobody expected that kind of run here today.
Well, when the sun goes down, as we know, it usually gets a little better. It tightens the track up. Tell you one thing I did, Mike suggested, is just as I was fixing the stage, you reached over and pointed to the brake track. And I got down there about half track, and it was just pulling fair, and I hit the brake, and went, woo, and took off again. It dried it up. It really ran good. I'm tickled to death.
Congratulations to the Snowman on his 17th career IHRA Top Fuel victory. We'll be back with the points and final thoughts from Darlington. The IHRA Snap-on Tools U.S. Open Nationals. Bob Barsha and Ted Jones with you. Brett Kepner said it best. This has been one historic drag race. There's Harold Denton and his crew celebrating the first pro stock world record under 7 seconds. And here are the points, Ted.
Well, in pro stock, Ricky Smith's lead is down to less than 200 points with Doug Kirk hot on his tail. Terry Adams in third place. Actually, any of those top 4 guys could win it. Gene Snow with a big 900-point lead over Patty Dakin. Kenny Bernstein is in a very distant third place, as is Pontiac Jack. And in pro modified, again, anyone's race, Scotty Cannon's lead is narrowed down to just about 500 points. The Canadian in second. Tim McAmis and Ed Hoover are tied for third. And in alcohol funny car, Mark Thomas is trying to repeat, and it looks good.
Our ESPN coverage has been brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers. With that clean, crisp, cold taste, nothing beats a Bud. It all comes down to the Fall Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee in a few weeks' time. I'm Bob Barsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. We'll leave you with a world record